Thanks for staying with us on SABC News. Now, the Public Service Commission has released a report on investigation into the non-implementation of arbitration awards and labour-related court orders by departments and implications on labour relations. Commissioner Moira Marais-Martin joins me from our Pretoria studio. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. What were your key findings?
Good afternoon, and also good afternoon to the viewers. Our key finding and concern with regards to this report is that there is a level of non-implementation of the arbitration awards as well as labour court orders, and it concerns the Public Service Commission because it does create all sorts of problems for the employees concerned. We are also worried about the fact that it signifies a non-adherence to the rule of law, disregard on the part of some of the departments, and we are quite worried that if this is continuing to happen, then more and more employees of the public service will be negatively affected.
What are the financial implications of these findings that you've just spoken about, not only for employees but for departments and unions?
For employees, we find that employees are often placed in financial ruin because they do not have the money to fight departments, so to speak. But also for departments, we find that there's a significant cost attached to the implementation of the awards allocated against them. And we also find that there is an increase in terms of the litigation costs that departments incur to defend certain awards or to take certain awards on review or appeal, and in the end they end up losing the case anyway, so they incur both the legal expenses as well as the arbitration awards, which they then still have to pay.
Now, your findings include that the Department of Public Service and Administration should develop an overarching policy framework, and that each department should develop a policy and implementation guide and procedure. How long will this take, and is there a point of you saying there's already non-compliance? So does there not need to be perhaps other actions taken?
We have made recommendations to the Department of Public Service and Administration. Last week, on the 5th of October, we had an interaction with the Minister for Public Service and Administration. So they have received the report quite positively, and they have undertaken to start working on this policy and overarching framework that we are recommending that they should develop. There is no time frame attached because we've just recently had the discussion, but we are obviously encouraging them to finalize this policy as soon as possible. In addition to that, we have also made recommendations to other stakeholders in the process to organize labor. We have made recommendations to bargaining councils, the arbitration and dispute resolution bodies, also to improve some of the systems, because we did have some challenges where we find that some of the arbitration bodies would not necessarily have the mechanisms to follow up on whether the awards allocated by them has in fact been implemented by departments.
This is not only a problem that can be tackled by the department. Who else needs to come to the table? All the role players, that's not just the Department of Public Service and Administration. Obviously, all government departments, because we are dealing with the public service here, they have to come to the table and play their role. We have to also advise employees, because often employees are at their wits' end. They go to court and they do get maybe a labour award allocated in their favour. Similarly so with the arbitration bodies, and yet we find that there's no implementation from departments. So besides the recommendations that we are making to the Minister of Public Service and Administration, we are also making recommendations to the Office of the State Attorney, and as I've indicated, the bargaining councils and the adjudication arbitration bodies. We are also making recommendations to them, as well as to departments directly, as well as trying to empower employees to issue certain guidelines as to what steps they can take when they find themselves in a position where an award has been allocated in their favor but not implemented by the department or the employer.
Commissioner Moira Marais-Martin, thanks so much for your time on SABC News, coming to us live there from our Pretoria studios.